It's been a it's been a heck of a year, dealing with everything with COVID. I'm sure you've had, all the other coaches have had the same comments, but in this situation, we looked at this year and really great. I've been really grateful to be at University of Texas because like from day one, Chris Del Conte and everyone in the administration, like we're going to make this work. We're going to do all the testing and all the protocols and, give credit to our team that they've followed everything and every step along the way. And we've done, we've had a really productive year. And I kind of look at it like as long as we make every day a good positive experience and keep on taking steps forward, the results take care of themselves. And that's certainly been happening. We just had our last hard workout on the water here on the lake just this morning. And by all indications, things look pretty good. Trailer is pulling out right now. There's a lot of logistics involved in rowing. So the trailer with our equipment that we'll be racing in is heading out and hopefully in the next couple of minutes to get there by tomorrow evening. And we fly out tomorrow. So everything looks good so far. I'm a big believer you can only control what you can control. And for everything in terms of, Texas rowing, we're doing a pretty good job.
Thanks, Coach. Appreciate that. We'll go ahead and start off with Roger Wallace. Go ahead, Roger.
Hey, Coach. First of all, it's one of the coolest backdrops we've had in our in our Zooms. There's pretty good momentum on the 40 acres. I saw your team celebrating at the tower. Obviously, this weekend was a big weekend. Do you guys feel that? Do you feel momentum within the athletic department as you do your thing?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's a really good camaraderie amongst all the coaches. We've got a WhatsApp message, group chat, and when women's tennis won, I was kind of like, oh, I need to be the first one to text Howard, and Jarrett Elliott beat me by like 15 seconds. Like, oh, all right, he got me. And and I think and certainly within it, we haven't been in the office for a while, but just in our wing in the office, there's women's rowing and men's tennis, women's tennis, and men's golf. Like those four sports and those four coaches and coaching staffs getting along. And there's definitely some good momentum. And even like I was saying at the beginning there, as there's definitely a good vibe within the athletic department and a good, it's clear like this year we're gonna have a season. We're gonna do all the steps to take care of the athletes, to take care of the student athletes, to make sure this is a good experience for them. And I think that's really allowed the coaches to make the most of our responsibilities, what we need to do. I think success breeds success. And it's been building, not just this year, it's been building for a few years. So yeah, things are good.
And then can I follow with a little rowing 101? What makes you guys good? What makes a great rowing team? What makes a great rower and the teamwork and everything that goes into it?
Yeah, good question. I think we like to say that rowing's the ultimate team sport, because it certainly is. If one person is out of sync with everyone else, the whole system falls apart. So there's a lot of, and certainly in rowing, there's a lot of preparation. I like to say as a rowing coach, like we don't like to race, we like to train. The races just get in the way of training, and even within our team, we've been saying that we've been training for this upcoming weekend since March 13th, 2020, once last spring got canceled. We've been preparing for, okay, let's prepare for May 30th, 2021 now. And, and certainly different with rowing than some other sports. Like we shove them off and they head out and warm up to race. And we don't, we shove them off 45 minutes before race time. And then they come down the race course and the coaches, we can't call timeout midway through the race and say, hey, we got to get this together. And what makes a good rower? I mean, first and foremost, you have to have a good attitude and you have to a really good, strong work ethic. Taller than average in terms of height. The average height for our top boat is probably 6 feet tall, so maybe not as quite as tall as a volleyball player, but, and they've got to have some really good endurance and really good power. So, rowing, a lot of people think rowing, like, oh, it must have strong arms. It's not necessarily strong arms, it's strong legs. So, and people have done the equations, like there's more practice hours per minute of racing for rowing than any other sport, and that's something that we embrace. And there's a lot of training and work that goes into it. So, it's good to see it's all paying off on race day for us.
Thank you.
Terry Middleton, go ahead.
Coach, congratulations. So you talked about what it takes to be a world-class rower. What does it take to be a world-class coach rowing coach. I mean, you're given this honor, right? Coach of the year. You're representing a world-class school. So what is that? What's your perspective on that? I mean, how'd you get here? And then what does it mean to be a part of, I mean, Texas is just doing phenomenal right now, and the rowing team is a part of that.
Yeah. I think first and foremost, from the coaching perspective, I think it's important for me to surround myself with really good people. I've got a terrific staff, from everyone, for all the assistant coaches and all the support staff, a great staff. And then we've recruited some really wonderful women who are on our team, and they've really bought into what we're looking to do. I'm a big team culture guy, and I think as long as, and I'm well aware of my responsibility in terms of setting the tone, setting the atmosphere for practice, and and I'm a big believer in all the lessons you learn in the pursuit of excellence in a team sport. Like I'm a big believer in Division I athletics, all the lessons you learn in terms of leadership, preparation, competition, conflict resolution, communication, all that stuff, so we definitely focus on being the best, what we call the best Texas teammate you can possibly be. And, and I believe that throughout my career. I coached at Cal for a number of years, and we had some really good success there. And then when the opportunity to come to University of Texas opened up, I'm like, you know what? Like, I think all coaches were always like, what's, is there something, is the grass greener somewhere else? When this opportunity at Texas opened up, I'm like, you know what? The grass is pretty green in Texas. So what can we accomplish where quite literally, I think the only thing that we're limited by here at UT is our imagination and how hard we want to work, and I think with that, like we're doing some really, really good things. So, I think that the team culture is what's most important, and like I've said all along, like I think the training that we do is really good. The technique is really good, but the thing that really makes it successful is the culture within the team.
That's fantastic. And one more question, if I may. I remember back in, I think, September, you guys were on the water when it was cold out, and you even put out a video kind of helping people who were not elite rowers. How does rowing work? How do you get the best out of a rowing machine? And so do you think that gave you any competitive advantage, or were the rest of the rowing teams across the country preparing so early on?
There were in the COVID year, there were some teams that had a little bit later start than some others, but I think everyone's caught up. I think all those teams, even if they weren't together as a team, they were still training on their own, and in fact, you'll hear from Alex Watson, and Alex, she was home in the UK, all fall semester, and quite a few kids on our team were home training on their own or training with their local clubs, during the fall semester. And we had a regular meeting once a week to check in with everyone. And as long as everyone showed up fit and ready to go in January, and that was certainly the case with us, and we took off, so and it has been funny with the COVID year. We had to do some things differently in terms of how we manage practice, and it's actually worked out quite well. And probably we've learned a few things that I think will probably continue on in the years ahead. We were forced to do some things differently, and they worked out quite well. So I think, a little bit of serendipity, I think it's made us better.
That's fantastic. Rowing is a fun sport to watch. People probably don't realize it, but it's as exciting. Watching it, your heart's pounding like mad. So congratulations.
Yeah, there's plenty of times I'm like, with the stress, I'm like, why do I do this? Why am I putting myself into this? Because there's plenty of times I'll look to just call timeout, like, all right, let's do this now, but they're on their own. They're going to do it.
That's fantastic. Thanks, Coach. Congratulations.
Jeff Jones, go ahead.
Coach, you said the COVID year, of course, forced you guys to make a lot of changes. Watching this team adjust to those changes, what did you learn about this group?
That I think one of the biggest things was, we didn't really do any physical testing in the fall at all. We just, hey, here are the workouts, go off and do it. And I think realized with this team that they were holding themselves accountable, and they really wanted to do well, and they were self-motivated. Like we set up a structure, and we were like, it's COVID year, we're not going to put any extra stress on everybody. And then we got to a point where it's like, hey guys, the reason you're on this team, you want it to be hard. And they're like, yeah. So then we're like, okay, now we start making it hard, and they embraced it, you know. So it was more of a slower buildup in terms of the intensity for the workouts for the year, and I think we'll probably continue that in the future. You know, like there are some other years that we would do some really grueling hard workouts on the rowing machine or even in the water back, you know, as early as September, early October, and we really didn't do any of that until January, February. You know, and I think it allowed the kids on the team to just be more relaxed, more themselves, and just focus on training rather than testing. You know, because I think when there's so much added pressure when we're being tested rather than just focus on the training, if that makes sense. So I think that was, and I've always been a believer in that, but it really came true this year when they were just rowing in the small boats, meaning singles and pairs, just one-person boats and two-person boats. And then we got together. The first time we didn't get together in an 8 until maybe November, which is 2 months later than we normally would. And they picked it up fine. I'm like, okay, that was, you know, and the skills that they learned in the smaller boats certainly transferred over to the bigger boat right away. You know, so I've been doing this for 30 years or so and still learning. So there's some good things I figured out.
I think we're about to talk to Alex in a moment. Can you tell us about her and her impact on the team and who she is?
Yeah, Alex Watson is kind of fun. I was just saying to Mary Lennington, our associate head coach, like, man, I'm really glad you recruited Alex. You know, Alex from Leicester in the UK. Did I say it right? Leicester, England. And she was part, in the UK, they have the START program where they identify athletes in other sports. That's people that could be good in some of these Olympic sports. And she was identified as someone who could be good at rowing. Started rowing and rowed for a couple of years at the junior level and had some good success, but not international success. And now she's come here and she's really developed into, I think, one of the, you know, if not the best, one of the best Division I rowers in the country. And, you know, and she's had some struggles along the way. You know, there's, I think, a feature on Texas Sports where, you can go check that out, where she got kind of sick and had, you know, fall of 2017. And she's always been a strong, powerful athlete. And then this year she's come in and been even more of the leader and the voice of the team. That's sort of the driving, you know, and it's really good when the best athlete is also the driving force in terms of team attitude, you know, and personality. And I think, and she's still learning and figuring things out, which is all part of the process. And it's been a lot of fun working with her. So I'll hand it over to Alex Watson.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you, Hookham.
That was quite the introduction.
Thank you.
You guys can go ahead and put your raised hand functions up and we'll roll through some questions for Alex. Roger, start us off.
Hey, Alex, how excited are you guys to try to add to the trophy case? I saw your celebration at the tower for the Big 12, and you guys seem like, you know, it's quite a group there. But now you get a chance to keep that #1 ranking at the end of the season.
Yeah, I think going into Big 12, we were excited to get some racing and some side-by-side racing. So mainly our races this year have been one-on-one, and winning that was really exciting, especially as my last Big 12s. But going forward into NCAAs, I definitely think we're all prepared to want that trophy and raise that trophy as well and get that tower lit again.
And then training at home in the fall, that had to be kind of a bizarre feeling, knowing school's going on, you're in a different country, you're a student athlete on a team, yet you probably felt a little detached, although I'm sure you did a lot of this. But what was that like, trying to just get through that so you could get back to campus and compete?
Yeah, I think it was very bizarre because our team here we're such a big team and we're such a good cohort of girls. Like my team back home, there was maybe 5 of us. So to go from 70 to 5 was a big shift for me. And like the atmosphere within our team is like electric, like pretty much every day. And I really miss that. But being able to, as Dave said, like have our weekly meetings, like just to meet up, like check in with everybody, how's everyone doing? And then we'd also have a big team meeting as well. And we'd break up into little groups and like chat to get to know people. So I didn't meet a lot of the freshmen this year till till I came here, but like being able to have those weekly meetings and like see everybody like kept us together, and like it motivated me to train harder because I wanted to come back and kick ass.
Thank you.
Jeff Jones, go ahead.
Hey, Alex.
Hi.
Do you feel the momentum on campus of the other Texas teams doing really well, and does that help you guys in any way?
Yeah, we definitely feel the momentum from the other teams. Like seeing all the other teams do so well, especially the women's tennis. Like seeing their celebration, like just like fuels the fire for us because we really want to be able to continue that fire that they've started and all the other teams have started. Like especially coming back this season, the spring, like all the sports this spring have done so well, and we're using that as motivation to do really well as well.
Coach told us a little bit about your introduction to the sport of rowing. Can you kind of fill in some of those gaps? How'd you get into the sport?
Yeah, so I used to play rugby before I started rowing, but my high school had like an indoor rowing competition, so on the rowing machine, and they put me forward being like, oh, you're tall, and I was like, okay, yeah. And then so there's a program called the START program in the UK, so they identify tall, talented people that potentially could like win an Olympic gold medal, and they saw my height, and my mum actually applied online for me because she was like, you're tall, you need to do this. So they take you on, like you don't need any experience. Like I come from rugby, completely different sport to rowing, and they just take you and they teach you all the rowing basically. Yeah.
You said that was in high school. Do you remember, was it beginning, like how old were you when you first started rowing?
I was 16 when I started rowing. I'd actually, the previous week before I started at the school I was going to row out, I'd actually played rugby the week before, and then I started rowing.
Got it. Thank you.
Terry Middleton, go ahead.
Well, Alex, congratulations. So question for you. You row on the #1 team in the country. You are considered the #1 rower. Your coach just said probably in the world. And you're the emotional leader on the team. How do you do that? I mean, what does that look like for you to be on the #1 rowing team, the #1 player, the emotional leader on the team for the #1 school in the country, maybe world? Yeah, take us through what that feels like and what's the responsibility of that? Or is it a responsibility? Is this just a joy?
I don't think it's necessary, like I feel like a responsibility to do it, because on our team, there's so many leaders within our team. I think as a cohort, like we all bring each other up, and like just having that little bit extra, like, I mean, the other day, Dave was saying like when I'm in the boat, simply just saying, yeah, like, yeah, girls, yeah, guys, like getting together, like bringing everyone up around you. And I think as a team, we all do that really well. And seeing my other teammates do it, like helps me to do it as well. Like seeing people get their catches in a bit better, like makes me want to go better. Or like somebody being called out in the boat, I'm like, I want to beat them now. Like we all like bring each other up. And I think that's a really great part of our team. And being a part of that team has helped me to become where I am today.
That's fantastic. And what is it being at the University of Texas? This is, I mean, the University of Texas is a prized university recognized throughout the world, and everybody's winning right now. What has it meant for you in your college career also to be going to the university?
Could you repeat that last bit? Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, how has it been, going to the University of Texas and being a part of this program? What has being a student at the university meant to you versus you could have rowed anywhere, probably for any school would have taken you. But how special has it been being at the University of Texas?
I was actually talking about this the other day to one of my teammates. I think the school spirit at Texas is like nothing compared to like any other school that I've been to or my friends go to. Like in other schools, like the spirit like around campus, like within just normal like students at like around campus, like they'll be wearing Texas gear. Like it amazes me, especially coming from the UK. Like the university spirit in the UK is not as like seen, I guess, but here like everybody has some form of Texas gear or some top or something. Like I've been in my hometown and like been wearing my backpack, and somebody will know that that's Texas. Right. Like that, I love that. Like, or we'll be walking around the airports when we're traveling, and they'll be like, "Yeah, Texas, look at them!" Like that just having that atmosphere, like I don't think there's anything like that in any other university like that I know.
That's fantastic. Well, congratulations and good luck to you.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Roger, have a follow-up?
Yeah. Hey, Alex, in a race, how aware are you of your opponent, and what can you do in the race if you notice you're behind? I mean, can you pay attention? Do you pay attention to what they're doing?
In, in a race, like my main focus, I'm focusing on the girl in front of me. So following her, the cock, so the girl at the front of the boat who like shouts at us, she tends to tell us where we are. But I think for me, my main focus is the girl in front of me. Like occasionally I might look across, like just check where we are, but just like having the cocks like tell us like where we are, if we're moving, or like how far we are ahead or behind, like having them, like it's more a visual for me rather than like actually like looking to see where we are, because sometimes that can distract you a little bit. But just having a girl, I focus on the girl's head in front of me most of the time. It's
got to be a kind of a strange sensation. To part of it, you must be just wondering. You know, usually in a race, yeah, you're kind of aware of your opponent.
I think you can be aware of your surroundings, like especially like coming up into NCs, like it's going to be like both boats are going to be right here with us, and you can like see it within your peripheral, so you know kind of where you are. But I think just having that Cox, like she tells us where we are and knows when we're moving and when we're going forward.
Cool, thanks.
Hey Alex, how special is NCAA is going to be after having to miss a year last year?
I think this NCs is going to be, I think it's going to be one of the most special NCs, especially like we were so hyped last year, and then to have it taken away from us was just like really sad. And especially coming back for a fifth year, there's 5 of us that have all come back purely just to race and win. Like we want to win, and like having that year off, like it's just given us more fuel for the fire to get on with it.